Time, it's LinkedIn Live. We're here 7 days a week, and it seems to be really, really doing a lot of good for a lot of people, including myself and all the co-hosts. I mean, this is a community, everybody's sitting on the same level together, working together, sharing together, and hopefully getting well together. So with that said, I've got Charles Caldwell here again. What was a huge hit yesterday. I reached out, Sarah, I believe will be here, but I think there's been some confusion this week with daylight savings time, and she's out in Netherlands. So how that affects her. But anyways, I updated her. This show is all based on you, the audience, what you want to hear, what you'd like to share, questions, opportunities, whatever it is that you woke up with today and saying it'd be great to have a sounding board and some feedback from trusted people I know. And with that, I want to introduce you to Charles. An honor to have Charles with us again. And it was just a wonderful show. If you didn't have a chance to see it, I would advocate going on my profile. Every one of these LinkedIn Lives is there every day. And Charles was great, along with Kelly, who made a difference. And we're starting to see where three-person co-host add even more diversity, complement, and quality contrast at times. So with that, how was yesterday? What's your thoughts since then? What's your thoughts on anything, Charles?
Well, I think yesterday was really, really exciting and enthusiastic, Don, and that's why I'm back today. Just happened to have a little bit of a window in my schedule here at the end of the weekend. I've got the scruffy look going on this morning. So tomorrow morning I'll clean up for work. Apologize, I'm not cleaned up for today. But you've got the real me, and so got that Hollywood actor thing going, I guess, with a scruff. But it's great to be here. Thank you very much for having me back.
Oh, you bet, Charles. I mean, it's great to have you back. And we've got our first comment, Eduardo Cano. Haven't seen that name, but that just shows you every day we're picking up new individuals from all over the globe. Everybody who comes from wherever they're coming from, we all share, being human, having feelings, having ambitions. And hopefully this hour of Empower will allow people to take another step forward or another step up. And that's the key, one step at a time. And before you know it, you're on your way. What do you think about the ability to communicate to so many people at one time and have them interact in real time back?
I think what's really amazing is that effectively, what we're seeing in the last 1 to 2 decades is the power of crowdsourcing. And this ability to network and come together globally on LinkedIn is another form of crowdsourcing. So we're able to get people from all over the world to come together and to listen to an encouraging message, ask questions, contribute their thoughts, and it just really shows the power of decentralized communication and the whole DeFi concept that's been popping up, especially in the fintech world in the last couple of years, Don.
Yeah, and it's just really now about application, and to have what I believe a universal message that can continue and expand. It has to be about something that's scarce in the world today, and that's kindness, love, respect. Have a good show based on a quality intent, and more importantly, over deliver. And I think when people now can see the stark difference, and that's why I've posted every day for 3 years now, and I've done a LinkedIn Live every day for 7 months. Is I know what the crowd is. I'm part of it. I know where the noise is, and I know how difficult it is to get true visibility for who you are, not what you show. And a program like LinkedIn Live gives you the most up-to-date Charles Caldwell there is, and the most relevant at this moment there is, and the connection everybody has with everybody in their own moment, right? And I think what's going to really blast this thing forward is when people know they've got the key to the locks that have been holding them back, right? And all it is turning that key and stepping forward and claiming something, like claiming your future that you always wanted and maybe never had the opportunity, or just as importantly, never had the support network that will give you that relief until you finally get there yourself. So Charles, I mean, I think that really defines what Hour of Empower means.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives people access to a whole variety of resources, starting with community, and LinkedIn in general gives people access to resources. Particularly, what we were talking about yesterday is access to mentors and mentees. So people can use LinkedIn to get access to mentors, and they can use LinkedIn to be a mentor for other individuals.
Well, and that's what your point earlier is that peer to peer, right? And now labels start to disappear, right? You don't have to be a professional. You don't have to have letters after your name. Just good quality experience and the ability to communicate with somebody in an empathetic, supportive way can really make a difference in a lot of people's mental health, because people would rather trust a friend than trust a stranger. People would like to go direct instead of going through a system or an institution. What's your thoughts? I see you agreeing.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think that while you say that, what comes to mind is the importance of distinguishing between the automation tools, which is the far extreme, versus actually taking the time to build relationship, which is what you're doing here. So I see some people in the comments here that we saw yesterday, that I've seen in the last couple of weeks, the last couple of months, as far back since you and I first connected, Don, on LinkedIn. So those are all people that, as over time they become known individuals, and people that you can reach out to and garner support from, and give support to.
Yeah, and also build friendships for the benefit of just having friendships, right? The idea is not to meet somebody to get something or to have an ulterior motive. It's get to appreciate them as who they are and be appreciated for who you are, and let time be your best friend in both ways, right? There's too many people want to rush things because they have nothing more to offer, right? It's their deal, it's their service, it's their whatever. It's pretty flat, pretty superficial, and creates challenge, right? Because there's an exchange before there's value. I always believe in creating value, understanding what the value is, and having people appreciate it. And then everything comes in a more timely fashion. And if you're off, you've saved yourself from being in that position where you overpromised and underdelivered, or don't know the full potential of it, or actually want to let it flow and organically continue to change to where ultimately it should be. You're a builder, Charles. What's your thoughts?
Well, one of my lifelong philosophies has been short-term sacrifice equals long-term gain, which I think is another way of expressing what you're talking about here, is not just cutting to getting a result or getting something out of whatever's going on in the moment, whether that's making a new connection on LinkedIn, or building a relationship, or making a sales close. It's really all about short-term sacrifice equals long-term gain. And I mean, we know that in sales, right? We know that the relationship portion of the sales is really, really critical. You need to build relationship with your customer, and it's the same all the way through life. You need to build relationship. You need to contribute to people. I love the expression, we rise by lifting others. And I think that's another example of short-term sacrifice equals long-term gain. And in many ways, that's what the LinkedIn community is all about.
Oh, for sure. And here's the thing. what I learned is everybody comes in alone and they only are there for as long as they want to be. And once you start building strategic connections, not just numerical connections, and strategic is not just for marketing or monetization, it's filling up your board of directors, right? Who do you want around your table if the five people you spend the most time with is you? And are those people going and how are they getting there? Right? It's like getting from one place to another. You get to the airport, you got to make sure the destination's right? You don't just fly wherever the plane goes. The plane should fly where you want it to go. And on LinkedIn, you have control again. So many people have given up control over time. They don't know how to take it back. So they're respectful in areas they shouldn't be, where they should be a little more aggressive, and they're aggressive in areas they shouldn't be. And everything in life is about balance and balancing. And as things change, you have to change to keep up with the changes. And it's so much easier in a group that's supportive, that's communicating. And trust is everything on LinkedIn. It's hard to gain, easy to lose. But without quality, honest communication, there can't be any trust, right? You can't base trust on assumption. You base it on experience and substance. And, I trust everybody to trust themselves. When you see something better, take advantage of it, right? When you have a chance to upgrade and optimize, take advantage of it. What's your thoughts, Charles?
Well, I love the idea of the board of directors, and that's a really great thing. So let me just embellish on that a little bit because companies need board of directors. That's a given, and I don't think that people recognize that maybe individuals need board of directors too. So a question that people can ask themselves is, who are your personal board of directors? So if you were to sit down and say, okay, this is Donald Cohen Inc. or Charles Caldwell Limited, who are the personal board of directors that support and guide, and or someone that you can go to as a sounding board to reflect on your goals and your aspirations, your career, whatever projects you're up to. So I think that that's a great concept about having a personal board of directors. So that's really something for people to think about. That's a takeaway they have for here. The other thing is, you say everything in life is balance. I think that's very, very true. We look around the world right now, we're seeing tremendous polarization everywhere. In some cases, the polarization is frightening. The polarization is causing wars and violence and protests. Everything needs to come in moderation. And I think that that's a really, really important thing. A lot of people come to me and they say, okay, what's the answer to this question? Well, you can't answer that question without actually doing some fact finding, some digging. Whatever the question is, you need to make sure you understand the background, you understand the context. And life is not always black and white. And in this world right now, there's a lot more gray, and there's a need for a lot more moderation, and there's a need for a lot more grace when resolving differences and melting the polarization.
Yeah, and that's where, since everything is happening so quickly, technology is accelerating. Now with this new software where you use AI to create articles, and now a whole group of copywriters are going to be wondering, just like blacksmiths when they saw their first car, is how do you get on the right side when you were on the right side and now discover you're not on the right side, you know? And it takes time. People don't move as quickly as technology, and there's a reluctance to change because people like routines, and some people have learned to be comfortably uncomfortable in whatever they're doing, and somehow they get through it. And I think at a certain point, when they say when the pain of holding on is greater than the fear of letting go, you let go. And I think people are starting to see that. And hopefully this show illustrates that to more people, that if you're not aware of it, be aware of it at least, because that's the first step. And then understand maybe you always wanted to be better than you are and do things that you're not doing right now. And this is the great bridge to transition where now every individual has a microphone every day, has a video every day, and while you're sitting around doing old things like sending resumes or trying to get appointments, create yourself as the opportunity that attracts people to you, right? And allows them to define what you could be doing with them instead of the other way around. So, this is a great opportunity for questions, answers, discovery, re-questions. Challenge yourself to get rid of all your mysteries. Buy some vowels, solve the puzzle. What's your thoughts, Charles?
Yeah, I think that what we're seeing more and more in today's recruitment world are people using um, video interviewing. So we actually use video interviewing at ESF, and so what happens is candidates will apply into the organization, and then if they get longlisted, they will they will be able to do a short 4 minute to 10 minute video. And that's really what LinkedIn is like in the public domain. It's an opportunity for you to have a presence to the world on how you're doing. So if you're doing inspiring, motivational, and encouraging and positive videos that are a reflection of what you're up to in your career, what you're up to in your personal life, for example, then that gives people an opportunity to see you beyond the paper resume or the PDF resume or the Word document resume. So it's another slice of the diamond.
Yeah, and I think it's the early adopters who can get the most benefit because this is where everything is going, right? So even if you like where you are, it doesn't like you as much as it used to. It's starting to like here. And I know the challenge is, because I hear it, is I'm intimidated by doing video. I'm intimidated by being live, and maybe if I was talking in front of an audience of 1,000 people where I saw their faces, heard their noise, and I was the only person on the stage, that might be a little more intimidating. But I kind of look at it like me and Charles are having a conversation that we're letting a lot of people in on, right? And the conversation we had was basically the same as when we went live. It just continued. But what's beautiful about that, I believe, is the thoughts and ideas will continue to plant themselves in people's knowledge or mindset. And after you hear it enough, it becomes the thing you heard most lately. And the things that you used to play in your head are the things that are crowded out now by new, interesting things, and hopefully things that can help you, because I think hope is everything. When you can give people hope, a light that says, hey, the closer you come to it, the brighter and warmer it will be. People are looking for that wake up call and direction. That's the key. Anybody can tell somebody who they are, what they should do, but who is going to take that person by the hand and help them, right? And that's what makes us all better for it. Your thoughts, Charles?
Yeah, I think that it's unfortunate at the moment how much people have lost hope, and the circumstances are pushing down on them in a way that they're losing sight of hope. I wanted to two things I wanted to talk about. One of them was that you mentioned a couple of minutes ago about resistance to change. And that's absolutely true. A lot of people are quite resistant to change. And a lot of that is the way we're wired as human beings, that we process threat 5 times faster than we would process reward. So we're more likely to assume or default thinking towards a change is going to be negative for us. And the Neuro Leadership Institute has come up with a really excellent model called the SCARF model, which looks at the kind of 5 pillars of why people are resistant to change. One of them is status, that a change affects their status. that another one is certainty, that the change creates uncertainty for individuals. And one of these will be dominant for people. Another one is that change threatens people's autonomy. And one is relatedness. The fourth one is relatedness, that it will threaten relationships. So people might be very comfortable in a particular team, and then maybe the company goes through a restructuring and they have to build new relationships. If relationships are important to them, then a change will be problematic. And then the last one is fairness, is whether or not people feel whether or not a change has been taking place fairly and with proper justice and that sort of thing. So you can go to the Neuro Leadership Institute website and you can look up the SCARF model and read all about it. There's lots and lots of literature that backs it up. It's backed up by research. I think that in general, what's happening is, the pandemic threatened people's autonomy because everybody was forced into lockdown. The situation with the economy right now, the Ukraine war, the banking crisis that we're seeing playing out in the last couple of weeks, that's threatening people's certainty. So now they're more uncertain about the future. And the polarization that people are seeing, the headlines in the media that just have constant negative news, and it's hard for people to balance out what that news means, and it challenges what they think is fair. So it's very easy to read something and you think to yourself, well, that doesn't seem right, that doesn't seem fair. And so right across the board, the SCARF model is a good example of how people's different priorities when it comes to change are being turned upside down. And so that's a little bit of insight into change. The other thing is that yesterday we talked about people hurting. So today I was just kind of thinking about this concept of hurting, Don, and I sort of thought, well, what's behind the hurting? And I did a poll on LinkedIn just this afternoon, about 6 or 7 hours ago. And I've already gotten about 40 votes on it, which is not a huge sample, but it's a sample. And I asked people, how often do you experience fear? And the options were daily, weekly, a few times a month, or rarely. And 33% of the small sample here have said that they experience fear daily. And 18% are saying that they experience fear weekly. So that means that 51% of people are experiencing fear daily or weekly. And that is a really striking number. I mean, I'm sure if Sally were able to join us, that she would, or Sarah, sorry, that she would have something to say about how people process fear. And one individual that left a comment on this poll said to me, it was Angela Kaplan. She said, fear-based anxiety is something I see more often in the clinical work than she used to. So there's really something there. And so I think that if people are hurting, they might want to think about what are they worried about? What are they afraid of? And then look at some strategies that they can use to help to process that fear, which can help to alleviate that hurt and bring back the hope that you were talking about a couple of minutes ago, Don.
Yeah, and there's so many smart, experienced individuals on LinkedIn and on this show that that's a layer of support that was never accessible. How would I be talking to Charles in Hong Kong, Sarah's in Spain, Bream, who was here a couple weeks ago, was in Saudi Arabia. Saima, who's from Pakistan, was a co-host on the show. I mean, all these wonderful people who come together because they appreciate the message we share and they want to share that same message too. And now there's a huge population that needs to hear that more and more, because fear can be overcome with hope, with support, with knowledge, and with the ability for people to self-actualize themselves, to not be the victim of change, but get on top of change and use change for their benefit. When everybody's going one way, that's a sign to go the other way, right?
Warren Buffett would agree with you on that one.
Well, it's just because that's where the opportunity is, where no one's farming, and when everybody's going to, what you call it, not what you call it, but Wayne Gretzky's famous saying was, because they said you're not that much faster, stronger, bigger. No, nothing about you says superstar. And he says the difference between me and a good player is they go where the puck is. I always go where the puck's about to be, right?
Yes.
So if you stay a step or two ahead, it's like going on an escalator, right? All you got to do is maintain, it'll take you up. And I think this is so important is because LinkedIn gives everybody a microphone every day, and you could put it back down and walk away, or you can pick it up and say, here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I'm feeling. And that's what would encourage me to do it every day is I walk by this desktop 100 times a day, and I'm thinking about things as I'm walking by it. So I said, well, why don't you think out loud in front of a lot of people who may want to help you with your thoughts, and more importantly, exchange theirs. This is a marketplace. This is a give and get, not give and take. There's a difference between giving and getting and giving and taking. And where the mob is, that's where people are working the numbers game, spaghetti against the wall, hit you as fast as you can to many people and be transactional. And there's nothing wrong with making money. But I think making money is a result of the quality and the value you bring to the marketplace and then is returned to you versus people who need to do it up front. And, Charles just came on yesterday for the first time, and now he's back. How great is that? And the numbers were outstanding for interaction. And that's what's so important is interacting. What do you think, Charles?
Yeah, I think that's key. I think that if we think back to what I was talking about earlier about the SCARF model, the SCARF change model, the R is relationships, and LinkedIn helps us to deepen those relationships. That's a really, really valuable resource for that. The other thing, Don, is that you have experience, right? You have a tremendous amount of experience, and that's something for everybody to think about, regardless of whether or not you're early, mid, stable, late career in your life. Everybody has skills, and if you're in a situation where you are experiencing fear due to a potential job loss or an actual job loss or other change in your organization or other change in your life, you can stop. And one of the strategies you can do is just take pause, do a skill audit. You can just sit down with a piece of paper and write down all the skills that you have. And it won't just be skills that you can apply to the professional world. It'll be skills that you can, from your personal life, that you can apply to the professional world. So, I'll give you an example of that. One organization, I might have been either Dow Chemicals or DuPont. They come up with an internal. We were talking about crowdsourcing earlier. They came up with an internal crowdsourcing concept. So basically, they created an internal marketplace, and where people could trade their skills across the organization. So you might find somebody that was in finance, for example, in their career, but in their personal life, they were a professional photographer. And what this organization did was they created an internal system, not different from Fiverr or Upwork or Amazon, for services. And they allowed people to trade their skills across the organization. So that same accountant who was in finance professionally and was a personal professional photographer was able to actually participate in projects for the marketing and communications team. And over time, and then they get rated on that, and over time, those skills actually hold equity within the organization in terms of they're transferable, they're monetizable, they're tangible skills. So normally, someone would say, "Well, what's your hobby?" Well, my hobby is photography. But actually, in reality, what this very blue chip organization did was they took those skills, they harnessed them, and people started trading their skills across the organization. Suddenly their hobbies were the tangible commodities and skills that could be used within the organization. And it had a huge impact on employee engagement. Really was phenomenal. So I really encourage people to do a skills assessment. Think about what your skills are, regardless of what point you are in your career. I think the benefit that you have, Donald, is that you have a lot of wisdom and you have a lot of experience. So as you walk by your desktop, ideas are popping out of you all the time. And that's what I felt yesterday. I mean, it was late here in Hong Kong, but it was a bit challenging to get to sleep because I was so jazzed up from our discussion. But those ideas popping out, everyone has those ideas, regardless of what point you are at in your career. So I really encourage people to, do a bit of a skills audit.
Well, and do a relationship audit too. I believe everything to continue to bring balance, which is so important, is about redirection of thought, redirection of action, and redirection of relationships, right? So if you decide, is my mind ready? I mean, I look at minds as part of your body, right? You go to a gym, and after an hour of a good workout, you do feel a lot better than you walked in. You feel like you got oxygen moving around, you feel like you're building some muscle maybe, and you did something. There's something to achieving something every day, no matter how simple it is. Even if you say, I'm going to read a page of a book that I wasn't going to read today, little things, create larger things. There's a saying, the definition of a big shot is a little shot that keeps shooting, right? And that's the key, is never stop being in action. I tell everybody, I'm either talking or walking, but I'm never sitting. You know what I mean? Because
I like that a lot.
to Charles's point yesterday, sitting is the worst thing you can do all day in front of a screen, to a piece of glass or whatever it's made of, versus being out in a park with people, with ducks and birds and whatever it is. Why not treat yourself? You got 24 hours. Ask yourself what you're doing with it, because a lot of people you come up to, hey, I'd like to share something really valuable and important. I don't have enough time. I say, how much time don't you got? Right? It's what you're doing with it that makes you not have enough time. So Cynthia's here. Let's recognize some of these wonderful people, because without them, this show goes nowhere. Dennis is here. Thank you, Dennis. Cynthia's here. Haven't seen Cynthia in a little bit, but great to have you back. We've been sowing with changes. We're on overload. Well, everybody's registering red line. Everybody's moving towards a higher RPM than they're used to or comfortable with. How do you slow it down? How do you get back to yourself? How do you get back to now? Loved information and how you generally share with us, Charles. So you're already inducted into the community. Goals provide the energy source of power our lives. One of the best ways we can get the most from the energy we have is to focus it. That is what goals can do for us. Concentrate our energy. Dennis Waitley. We go on, and Paul's here. Paul, hey, Don, happy Sunday. And he shared, Don, I learned a powerful lesson from Lauren's sermon. And it's so nice to recognize others, right? Because it extends the goodwill this week. Comments are content. Laura's sermon, a coffee chat I waited months for, worth the wait. When I first got on LinkedIn, it didn't take me long to figure out I had zero. You start with nothing, right? And I looked around, I said, well, who's got something and who's doing pretty good with the something? And what I did my first 3 weeks is just, I commented, and my comments carried along with their post, right? So if they had a lot of interactions, I was somebody who was going to be seen by people that supported them. And then what I did, I reached out to everybody who was supporting the people I admired and connected with them. And here's another tip. Whoever's tagging like a lot of people, like I do, and I'm tagging about 100 people a day, all of those people are taggable. They accept tags, or they wouldn't be in mine. The difference is I have a relationship with everybody I tagged that took me a while to build. What you don't want to do is just tag strangers. You'll get reported and you get thrown off.
Yeah, that's very true. You want to only tag people that you have the relationship with.
Yeah, and that's why when I connect with understanding with myself that I'll have a call if someone wants, right? If I'm not going to talk with someone after I connect, why would I want to connect and make them assume a call may be coming? But once you have a call, and I'm not going to go into tagging and strategy, but I think I've mastered it. I did it for a year and a half every day. Well, actually, Charles was always in my tags
Yeah.
from 2-3 years ago, when I had that exercise of going from 5,000 connections to 25,000 in 3 or 4 months. And it just shows this platform can take all you can give it. You're never going to wear it out. It's always going to give you more when you give it more. And, and it works when you work it. So anyways, you're so right, Paul. Comment, and commenting is respect. There's not that many people that comment. I might get 40, 50. Well, yesterday, honestly, the numbers were incredible because here's what people also value on LinkedIn: the ratio between likes and comments. And when something's superficial, you could get 200 likes and 20 comments. Yesterday, we got 40 likes and 240 comments. So it what LinkedIn looks for, and here's another element you might not be aware of. When you post, it goes to about 10% of only your network. And then LinkedIn waits. And if nothing happens, it's done. Right?
That's right.
It's like handled and turned out. But by the same token, if LinkedIn sees interaction, and not just with the people you tag, but how far it reaches beyond that. Because if I tag 100 people and I get 250 comments, there's no way it didn't accelerate through those people. So by learning best practices, and that's really what I have a little reservation about, is we're sharing mindset, attitude, how to position yourself, how to balance things. But without proficiency, you're going to hit a wall, right? Because content without audience is nothing. Audience without content is nothing. And you need to be building both at the same time. So by understanding, you can get amplified reach by just adding a few things that don't take any more time and create a duplicatable system. And I'm getting off on this stuff, but what I'm saying is you're not even scratching the scratch, to what's here and what can be. And here's one thing I thought about when me and Charles were talking about it. And I tell everybody, co-hosting is like co-coaching. Right? Because you share ideas and all of a sudden you're both learning from each other. And now something you were missing a piece of starts to come into place. Well, because the job situation is getting bad and probably will get worse, and people have to switch more often and be in a better position to make those switches. If you did a LinkedIn live show, even as a co-host, and then shared that with people, they would get to know you so much better than anybody else out there who's competing with you for what you're looking for. And that's an opportunity. So think outside your box, act outside your box, and you'll find out you should have never been in a box in the first place. So what's your thought? Oh, here we go. Sarah, I got to hear. Hi, Sarah. I know you're frazzled.
Sarah.
How you doing?
Hey, how come you started early?
No, I sent you an email and I sent you a message on LinkedIn. That LinkedIn, we have daylight savings time in America.
Oh, wow. It's different to ours, and my apologies. We've been out all day.
No, not a problem. No, I knew you didn't know. I should have probably reminded you last night when I sent you the message, but you're here. That's all that's important. I want to introduce Sarah, but first I want to introduce Sarah to Charles.
Hi, Sarah.
Charles
nice
and me have been friends and colleagues on LinkedIn for about 3 years or so, off, doing things, helping each other, probably more tagging. And Charles is in Hong Kong, so it's about 11 something at night. And Sarah, you're out in Spain.
Yeah, and it's 20 to 5.
Yeah, so I was explaining to Charles, because this all happened real quick. It's so cool that Charles was on yesterday with Kelly, and then must have had a really good time. We all did. And Charles says, if you want, because yesterday we did 3 people, and if you want, I'd come in. And then it was perfect when it started, and I know you
I didn't show.
Yeah. So anyways, let me introduce Sarah. to Charles. Sarah, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're here every other week. You're an inspiration for everybody. Your story and your perfect way you light up our audience. So, Sarah, go ahead.
Oh, thanks, Don, and nice to meet you, Charles.
And you too.
I think most people who come here know me. My background, I was a registered nurse for 20 years, and then I naturally self-healed a multitude of health problems, eczema, psoriasis, acid reflux, pain, frozen shoulders, debilitating headaches, suicidal depression, underactive thyroid, and burned out adrenal glands. And it was because I'd self-healed, I realised that actually there's more to healing than nursing and pharmaceuticals. So I left my role as a nurse and became a holistic health coach. I wrote a book called Heal Yourself. I wrote a course also called Heal Yourself. And I now support people to tap into their own natural healing and body wisdom, because we're born healers. We've just forgot. So it's about remembering and rekindling that within us and tapping into that, and remembering who we are, because we're here for a reason. And being sick isn't that reason. Being sick is our body's message telling us that we're not in line with what we're here for. So once we heal that, we find out the root cause of that, which is a misalignment in our life, and the symptoms are here as messages. As we heal our life, we can heal our symptoms, and as we heal our symptoms, we will heal our life. They're both intertwined.
Well, that's so profound. You say it in such a wonderful way, and you get it all in. Very comprehensive. So, how have you been since the last couple of weeks?
Oh, I've been great, thanks, Don. Lots has happened, and writing a new course, and we've been out for the weekend because the weather's fabulous, and I love the outside, and it's good for the soul. It nourishes the soul, and we should all do more of what nourishes our soul. So find what you love doing and do more of it. And my apologies again for being late.
No, it wasn't your fault. It was time. We're just on different time zones, but that's okay. And I'm so happy you're here. The audience has grown so much in 2 weeks, and not so much quantity, but participation. People are learning every day about somebody in a different way. And you know what it shows is knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Ignorance is the thing that creates so many misperceptions and barriers and competition. And what we've been talking and seeing is peer-to-peer is the answer. A person helping the person next to him, not going through an institution or a centralized unit. So what has this show done for you, Sarah?
It's brought even more fabulous people to me through LinkedIn that I've connected with. And opened up dialogue with some of those people. So for me, it's been brilliant, just to build my own community and be part of your community.
Well, what I realize is when two circles get together, they both get bigger, right? Yes. And if you can keep adding more circles times 30 people here, and we're on a social platform that's viral. Paul says, okay, we covered that. Dean, we're the lucky ones. We've at least found a place. So many have nowhere and are so tired they are losing hope. Don't give up. Great message, Dean. I mean, and it's one day at a time, one breath of a time, hour of power every day, hope. Kim, who just came here yesterday for the first time, is now coming back the second day.
Fabulous.
Happy, everyone. I'd say 80 to 90% of people are here every day, right? Yeah. Just like some people go to the gym every day, right? They just decided they're going to invest in themselves and better, more interesting, different people. That's amazing, Charles. What a great idea to bring joy to your work. Charles, so what do you think about now where we are in the show 44 minutes into it?
I think it's really, really great. I mean, I was going to say just before Sarah joined, you were talking about, people not playing a passive role in LinkedIn. And one thing that people may not know is that only about 1 to 3% of users on LinkedIn create content.
Mm-hmm.
So if yeah, it's true. And so, we sit here, we will look at the tabloids, we watch, George Clooney on his yacht, he's part of the 1%. Well, if you want to be part of the 1% on LinkedIn, all you have to do is start creating content. And that means, you just take your ideas, everyone has good ideas, just take your ideas, look at your skills, take some skills, put together a post and put it up on LinkedIn. Even better that you can record a video because video is much more powerful. Even better that you can participate in a live like that because that's even more powerful. But yeah, only 1 to 3% of people on LinkedIn are creating content. So if you want to be part of the 1%, create content. You'll be in the 1% overnight.
Well, Charles, to that, I try to get as much information from as many legitimate sources. And if you look at it, there's 900 million people registered on LinkedIn. There's only 36,000 newsletters. Okay. And if you took a newsletter and then reduced it to LinkedIn Live producers, I don't know, maybe there's 1,000, call it 10,000 because 900 million is so huge. It really doesn't matter what you divide into. And then who's doing it consistently, who's doing it with intent to help people, to support people. And really, this is a movement because it's based on a message that's universal, that's timeless, right? Love, respect, kindness, sharing. I mean, it's a fabulous love fest picnic, if you want to call it, and everybody brings their own potato salad or whatever their specialty is, and everybody eats a fabulous meal where somebody would have just been sitting home with their potato salad, right? So and challenge yourself to be everything you can be. Get ridiculous if that's what it takes. Have fun. No one cares. When you know that really no one cares as much as you think they do, you'll surprise yourself, especially in this group, when everybody will support you no matter who you are, right? People love you unconditionally, and those who don't, you shouldn't worry about. What's your thoughts, Sarah?
Absolutely. I mean, I had a conversation with somebody recently that they put a post up saying that they tried to create a post or create content every single day to fulfill the LinkedIn algorithms. And they ended up burnt out. And I said, why? Why even play with the algorithms? If you've got something to say, then put it out as a post, make it meaningful. If you haven't, then don't. But don't burn yourself out. I definitely don't post every day on LinkedIn, sometimes only once a week. But it's like, if I feel I've got something to say, if I feel it will be received warmly, if it will help other people, I'll post it. But if I've got nothing to say, then I won't. But I will have a conversation with other people and on their posts and interact with others. So it doesn't matter whether you're posting or whether you're talking to people, interacting on theirs, as long as you are interacting. Don't be frightened to answer people's posts and have discussions. It's the way we learn.
Well, it's such a great resource because the one who's proactive is the one who's going to get all the benefit, right? Waiting for something to happen. It's going to happen when it happens, if it happens. Making something happen. And, it's like that story of, a junior high school dance, right? And on one side of the wall is all the girls, on the other side is all the boys. And one boy tells his friend, you see Sally over there? Before the night's over, I'm going to dance with her. And the other boy said, well, good luck. And as soon as the dancing starts, he goes to the first girl in line and said, would you like to dance? And by the seventh girl, he's dancing all night. Meanwhile, the other guy's thinking to get up enough nerve to ask Sally. And before you know it, the dancing's over, right? And he was there to dance with someone. So the point is whatever you want, take the initiative to try to reach out and not get it all in one swipe. LinkedIn is a marathon. It's a long-term process. And you want to be the best person you can to everybody you can, right? Not just to the people who like or align with you, because here's another thing. If you go beyond the superficial, every person represents their community, their network, right? Charles has 20,000 connections. The door to Charles is the door to them. So just like people say, well, he's nobody. Well, maybe he knows somebody. Maybe he's related to a somebody, you know. And what do you have so much little time? So much little time doesn't make sense. That you can prejudge people when you could have had a conversation and be sure. And plus, the other thing is, so many people are waiting for that hand down to pick them up. What are they doing with their other hand to bring somebody else up when they're waiting and keep company? You know, when we talk about fear, fear goes away when you're in a group that's fun, exciting, and interesting, no matter what you're going through, versus being in a lonely room by yourself with yourself, you know, which is the best time to get out of yourself. And hopefully this is a message that someone says, I'm going to do it today. I'm going to go visit an aunt I've been talking about visiting. I'm going to make a phone call to somebody who I should have talked to earlier, you know, and everybody's got a to-do list. But do they have a want to do list? You know? So, Sarah, you're shaking your head, must have something to say.
Yeah, that most people have got a to-do list, and it comes from the word should, because they feel they should go and visit that aunt, or they feel they should make a phone call, or they feel they should do something. And should is an awful word, because it puts pressure on us to do things that we might not have otherwise have wanted to do. And we take on board other people's opinions of us. You know, we think, well, if I don't do that, what will they think? So therefore I should do that, so I don't offend that person. But can we let go of should and choose something like I choose to do that, or I want to do that? And do it because it's what we want to do. It's not what we feel we should do because of other people's expectations. That's a huge one. And that a part of that comes from people pleasing. You know, we want to please people. We don't want people to think bad of us. So we feel we should do all these things so people don't think bad of us. And it's a terrible cycle to get into. So choose. I'm doing that because I want to do that. I choose to do that. And I choose to not do that. And let go of that word should.
Yeah, and I believe let happiness be your guide, right? At the end of the day, there's too much thinking, not enough feeling, not enough enjoying the feeling. You know, you're trying to figure the in, the out, what's next, and all that stuff. Is like, let life come to you. Right? Don't exhaust your life trying to figure it out. You're never going to. And where's the benefit? Now you can say I'm right after spending that time. And now what do you do the next day? Do you know that too? Charles, what's your thoughts on this interesting conversation?
Yeah, I think that the vicious cycle of should, Sarah, is really powerful. And another way you can look at that is gratitude. So, you know, there's a lot of grumpy people in the world right now, and some of those people are using the word should. So I think to myself, you know, people who are less advantaged than others might be, they might say, well, should I go to school today? Do I have to go to school today? Well, it's not that you should or have to go to school today. It's that you get to go to school today. You know, there's a lot of people around the world that would love to be able to go to school, and they're not able to because they're trapped in another cycle altogether, which is for another LinkedIn Live altogether. And so, you know, that really gratitude is one of the ways to break through that should vicious cycle, is to just flip it and think, okay, well, should I go shopping? Well, actually, you get to go shopping. You know, it's like the story of the person. I don't know, this is a bit of a generalized story, but it's an individual that came from an impoverished nation and immigrated to the United States. And her host family, for the first month, the first day she was in the United States, she went to the supermarket, and she was really, really anxious about getting there immediately, you know, first thing in the morning. And when she walked into the supermarket with her host family, she broke down and cried, because where she came from, the shelves were always empty. And yet in the supermarket in the United States, the shelves were full. And she just couldn't believe the paradigm shift. You know, do I have to go shopping today? Well, in where she came from, she had to go shopping, yeah. But in the United States, she got to go shopping, and the stores were full. So, I mean, another issue around affordability, but that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about breaking the vicious cycle of should.
Yeah. And gratitude, as you say, is a great way to do that.
Yeah.
You know, and be thankful that I can choose and I do get to. Yeah. And it's so
Yeah,
powerful.
absolutely.
You know, there's something to counting your blessings, you know, because they are there. They're worth acknowledging, recognizing. You know, you have so many different dimensions to yourself. You know, why not slice the richest piece? You know, if you're going to make a chocolate cake, right? You know, you want to throw in more chocolate, more whatever that is tasty, and serve it up to somebody to put a smile on their face. And I think to Charles's point, you never know what you don't know. You assume too much. You know, you look at somebody because there are so many somebodies and they're so electronic, you got to pick and choose real fast. But I think people now are getting away from their true nature, which people need people. People need love and respect and consideration. And no one's got the time. You know, ask somebody, you got an hour to give me a lot of respect and love and appreciation? You know, I doubt it. I mean, to your point, they may do it because they feel they should do it. But why not go to people who are already doing it? You know, get into, you know, like a farmer's market where everybody's already set up, right? Everybody's bringing their goods to the marketplace, but it's a community, right? And the people who are selling corn are happy with the people selling peaches, you know, and everybody has an afternoon. And that's what life is. It's the experience of life. You know, they say you come into the world with nothing, the worst you can do is break even, you know, and you can't take anything with you. You know, and everything's on loan. It's never owned. So why not get to where the fun is, which is where are the people? You know, if you went to the beach and it was a beautiful beach, after a while you say, why am I only one here? You know, Charles, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that to what you were back saying earlier about waiting, you know, if you have a good idea, don't wait. Just go ahead and act on that good idea. You know, it brings us back to the shoulds, you know, second guessing yourself and thinking, oh, I should have done that years ago. Well, there's a Chinese proverb that said the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time to plant a tree is today. So if you have an idea, which is planting a tree, or you have an idea that's planting a seed somewhere, you have an idea for a product, for a service, to build a relationship, to mend something, to create something, to post something on LinkedIn, do it now, do it today. Don't wait.
Yeah, I mean, the time is now. No one guarantees anybody tomorrow, right? And if you don't take care of the now today, when are you going to do the now tomorrow? Right? It continues to expand in wherever direction or trend you're moving. If you like where you're going, stay there, because not that many people are there, right? So change for change's sake doesn't make sense either. But, you know, at a certain point, you know, there's more to the world. There's more to the universe. There's more to more people. Like Sarah said, you know, what's remarkable? And it proves it, because, you know, you can look at numbers and statistics and maybe they influence you, maybe they don't. But real experience that you feel and know every day. And the examples are Gretchen on Monday, Jenny Maxwell on Wednesday, and Tara on Friday started all together pretty much 3 months ago at the same time. No one had ever done a LinkedIn Live. Since then, everybody's gotten down to every other week because the amount of visibility and attention has been so great. They're getting speaking engagements, they're getting connect. I mean, because people want to be with people who are where they want to be, right? You've already arrived because you're LinkedIn Livers. And just saying that, if only, like I say, 10,000 people on LinkedIn, I don't know where they would be because I'm here every day. I would recognize 10,000. Let's just say a few hundred are doing this. You're among the few hundred out of 900 million, and you're doing it well, right? And here's the other thing. You get better by doing it well and doing it more often with more people. I started out, the most I could do was 9 minutes. The day I did it, I was the only one who knew I was going to do it. So I knew I was the only one in the audience that day, but you still got to do it, right? You got to run the race. And then I kept doing it and still nobody, but you still got to run the race. And then someone shows up and comes back with a friend and then shares this. And this is where it's all come from. It's all been organic. It's all been natural. And now people are starting to express themselves in ways they couldn't or wouldn't before because other people are modeling it. And that's how this thing will build duplication through others. Andrea has a big link here. I think it's to some event that's taking place in 2 hours. So you can always go to my post and see these comments because I know not everybody's going to be able to copy that. Exactly. Create content. Come and join us here in 2 hours time. And Andrea is going to be here tomorrow and then going to be taking up Tuesdays. Andrea is getting back to fighting shape, which is great. Charles says in 2019, LinkedIn reported less. Yeah, and here's the numbers. And if you want, do yourself a favor, go to Google, just Google, LinkedIn statistics. And they had a whole thing come out last week, 47 statistics. What it says, a couple things, it's growing twice as fast outside of the US as it is in the US. Actually, Europe's the biggest market, and then US, and then Asia. And what's really cool is LinkedIn Lives get 24 times the impact as an organic video, which gets 5 times the benefit of a text post. So when you're getting 120 times, because, the weekends are the best, and everybody say, well, why do you do weekends? Well, no one else is doing them. Everybody's taking them off, but what does that leave for the people who need it, right? And want it. And here's the thing, this is like urgent care, 7 days a week. You can come in any day. We're here. We got loving people, caring people. And honestly, it's like a roller coaster where after I get off it, like Charles said, for the next 23 hours, first of all, I got to manage it, which I got to do all the posts and the tags, which is cool because I love to see the people. I love to hear the people. When you get 100 fans who are doing the right thing the right way with other people, and you can't stop it anymore. That's even more beautiful. It's already on its way. It's not coming back. So also the point is with that much power, all someone has to do is be the interface, so the more you can niche, the easier it is for people to understand and appreciate what you're doing. And the more you can focus on just doing that is onboarding, right? Come on the LinkedIn Live train. Let me show you how, get a seat. And before you know it, you're driving your own train. And you can't get more powerful than a train sometimes. Dan's here. Good morning, everyone. Charles, we got a little bit more time because it is the weekend. I'm not as conscious as top of the hour, even though I know you need to go to bed sometime. But what's your continuing thoughts on where we are today and yesterday?
Well, I think that my encouragement for today, earlier actually, and Sarah, just before you joined, I was sharing that I threw up a poll. Yesterday we were talking about people hurting around the world, and so today I put a poll on LinkedIn around people experiencing fear, and more than 50% of the people who answered the poll said that they were experiencing fear daily or weekly. And so we've moved on from that conversation, and we're now talking about, really doing things now, doing things that bring joy to you. So I would encourage people to, if you have an idea to post content on LinkedIn, or you have another idea to take action somewhere in your life, I would encourage you to take action, reach out to your community, including the people here on LinkedIn, to support you to take that action. Do it now. And if you're feeling fear, there's a really great book from about 30 or 40 years ago. I'm starting to date myself now and my haircut, but the book was Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And that would be the message. Just be with the fear and do it anyway. Move forward, and it'll pay off dividends for you.
Well, and just for Sarah's sake, Charles is a educator now and is involved with the largest English speaking school group in Hong Kong and has been there 27 years. So, and really yesterday was a huge proponent and promoter of mentoring and helping others. And I know Kelly made a comment that yesterday she was with her mentee, a young girl that they meet up every, I guess, couple Saturdays. And what a huge difference it's made for people. I know Jenny Maxwell got a lot happier when she started to volunteer and chop vegetables for people who are making food for people in hospice, and ultimately went to the juvenile system and found so much joy and benefit from working with these kids. So there's a lot in you, and it should be it should find a place where it can really resonate and bring value. So whether it's volunteering, whether it's sharing, because the more you give, the more you're starting to upgrade your giving muscles, right? So why not be a big giver? Why not be a powerful giver? Why not be a powerful sharer? I mean, why not leave it all on the field, right? What are you saving it for? And the more you leave on the field, the more you open up to get the new benefit. What do you think, Sarah?
Absolutely, Don, because it's the saying that nature abhors a void. So if you're giving, you're creating a void, so you will attract something into that void. And giving can be, like you said, in many different ways. You can give as a service to others, you can give money, you can give donations, you can give time. There's so many different ways that we can give. As we give, we can practice gratitude as well, that we're able to give something, whether it is time, whether it is money, whether it is donations, food, anything. But that giving opens up more for us to receive. But that said, we don't give to receive. Some people do, but not lots of people. But as we give, we open up to be receivers, to receive something. And for me, the act of giving, I get pleasure in that. So for me, what I receive from giving is pleasure. And in giving to others, because it lights their face up. I see that they're changing their energy, and for me that's fabulous. To be a part of that and to have helped them in any way that I can. So give whatever you can, in whatever circumstance you can, in whatever arena that you can, but be a giver. And learn to not, one of my clients had a thing where she's like, well, if I give that, I need to receive that, and then they need to give to me because I've given to them. And she was like, keeping a score. I'm like, no, let go of that. You give because you want to give. You're giving from the heart. And in giving, you will see how well that's received. And that in itself gives you the pleasure that they've received it well. So give from the heart. Give because you want to give, not because you want to receive.
Well, and giving and receiving, why would you expect to receive if you weren't expecting to give? So why would anybody be in a position that says, okay, I'm going to give to you even though you don't give to anybody, right? And if you don't give to anybody, you're probably not going to give back, right? That's already given. So people just have to look at their own world. And that's why having a sounding board, having a board of directors, people who don't have any skin in your game, aren't afraid to tell you the truth, whether you like them or not for it, makes all the difference, because, everybody knows, hey, I'm a little confused on this. So most people now can go to Google or YouTube and get conversational about it real quick. But they're not going to touch your soul. They're not going to reach out and tell you a joke when you're sad. And some people just need a moment. They don't need a forever. Someone just says, if someone would just be kind for 3-4 minutes. I mean, how many times does someone change your whole attitude just by a simple act of kindness? If someone just came up to you and says, boy, you got a wonderful smile, right? And you know, that's just one person, but it just shows you what one person can do. And naturally you would like that. And then we talked about in the past, can you totally accept it in the same way, as opposed to, oh, don't be fooling me, or yeah, it's nice, but it's not, you know, it's like someone maximizes you and then you say, no, I'm going back to the basement. You know, I'm gonna take myself down a notch or two. And you know, that's where people, when the universe presents you with something, be grateful. You know, like they say, if the only prayer you say is thank you, that's enough. Charles, your turn.
Yeah, I think my my closing message would be to everybody would be to look into your heart. Look into your heart. What do you want to do today? Now go do it. Look into your heart. What do you want to do today? Now go do it.
Very good. What's your final thoughts, Sarah?
Nourish your soul. Do whatever it takes. Do whatever you like to do. Do whatever brings you joy, and do more of it. And if you don't know what that is, try lots of different things until you find something that you enjoy doing. But find different ways to nourish your soul.
Yeah, and you know, I guess the key word today is yourself, right? The game is between you and you. You know, you're the one who decides to play those thoughts or experiences or future ambitions or fears. You know, and just like any movie show, they get old, right? And they changed the movie, you know, so change your marquee. You know, I always look at it like your LinkedIn profile background is your marquee, right? It says, here's what's playing today in my mind, you know, and then everything is never about me. You know, it's all what I can bring to somebody else, because they'll get to know you if they like what you bring or what you're offering, versus who you are, and it gets you out of you. And I always found when you make things about it and not you, it gets a lot easier, right? You don't take things as personal, and you just know, hey, why would I accept a poll of one? You know what I mean? And use that as the decision that I'm going to start making a change. Or, you know, are you always reacting instead of responding? And are you always accepting answers instead of returning with a question to get me a little bit more appreciation for what you said? You know, challenge people who challenge you, you know, and you'll see what they're made of. And some people don't even know they're doing it because they've been doing it all their life. And it goes for the people who've been accepting it all their life. It just comes with the package, I guess. And until someone shows people the light, you never go back to the dark again. And not only that, you don't limit yourself to where you would have before, because if it's a wide open game, hey, everything's up for grabs. And if you're dealing with the world, 900 million people, how can't you find something that can satisfy you, right? If you're working hard enough. And you know, the other thing about hard work, it doesn't give you time to think about irresponsible things, right? When you're driving a car, you got to look at the road. You got to understand what's going on, right? You can't start doing knitting or start doing some hobby in the car. And that's why people should that's why I keep it simple. Try to keep it to things you can visualize, you know, things you can feel. And to Charles's wonderful point, today's still there for you, right? The store's still open. Go out and get what you need. Go out and get what you enjoy. Go in the refrigerator and treat yourself to something that you deserve, you know? And, you know, I always say, make time for celebration. You should schedule celebration. You know, Thursday at 3:30, I'm going to the ice cream store, you know, and I'm going to even put a candle and blow it out and wish myself. I mean, why not make it extraordinary? Turn an ordinary life into something extraordinary. And it could come from a simple thing as, you know, when I looked at a blueberry the other week, I was just eating my oatmeal and I saw a blueberry and I thought, why don't we spend a minute with this thing, you know, and understand where it came from, right? Someone had to plant this. Someone had to pick it. Someone had to truck it. Someone had to warehouse it. Someone had to put it up on a shelf and I had to buy it. right? That's a lot of somebodies and some things for a simple blueberry. Well, everything in your life has a story, right? Once you can appreciate how wonderful it is that someone would do all this work so you could have one blueberry, makes you feel lucky, right? So that's what I think is your luck is determined by how you determine what a winner really is and how fast can you win every day. And to me, when I open my eyes for the first time, it's like I got another ticket on the roller coaster of life here, you know? And why not have a ball? You know, who's going to care, you know? So, okay, with that said, let me just finish up. Dan's here. I enjoy watching and listening to all. Your smiles are contagious. Well, you know, if smiles are contagious, if thoughts are contagious, if community is contagious, we're absolutely doing the right thing. Andrea says, I love that. Charles and Sarah, do not forget Don's advice. Andrea's here tomorrow. She's such a delight. I mean, Sarah knows her pretty well. And Kelly, I mean, you just go through the names. You got 20 new family members. What if 20 cousins showed up today and says, I don't think anybody told you about this, but we're first cousins, you know? Wouldn't that be great? Well, you got that in a way. And the good thing is they're cousins for as long as you want to be cousins. So grateful to be part of this giving, sharing, supportive community. It brings much needed love and hope to the world. And it does. You know, and I'm happy to be able to say that. Don't fix your problem, fix your thinking first, and problems will fix themselves. Well, a lot of it is just how you organize, prioritize. It just takes a closet organizer. Gratefulness. Dean, nobody's coming to tell your story. You're the only one with that story. And you know what? Everybody's got a beautiful story, right? Everybody's had wonderful experiences along with maybe not so wonderful. Focus on those. They're so much more fun. Same here, Kelly. This community is such a gift. Thank you all for sharing. Well, you know, giving is so important when you can give something that's really transformational. You know, if you can elevate this to transformation, not just knowledge, just not motivation. And what you're going to see, and I guarantee this, okay, is everything around you is going to change as everything else changes. So an example is if you paint one room of your house, you have no choice but to paint the rest of the rooms, right? Because once you see what it looks like, everything looks duller. Once you see what loving, friendly, supportive relationships are, you're going to look at some other relationships and now say, wow, what a contrast, you know, where I'm honored, appreciated, and supported. So anyways, everybody rest up, come back in 23 hours, less a few minutes, and we'll do it all again. A final look into your heart. What do you want today? Go do it. That's going to be the closing message. With that, I can't thank Charles and Sarah enough. I'm so happy Sarah made it.
Sorry.
No, it's all my fault, really. I should have known because Ambambola, who's in Nigeria, missed it too because of the time change. So next, and whenever it changes again, that will be in the earlier comment. So anyways, thank you to Charles. I'm glad you enjoyed your Sunday. To everybody else, you still got it ahead of you. And we'll talk tomorrow with Andrea. Thank you so much. Bye for now.
Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.